Philosopher here, and I'm here with a character review of Multiple Man, who was just announced yesterday in a blog post. So let's talk about Multiple Man, and I'm going to start by talking about Carnage. Well, why am I talking about Carnage? Because I want you to understand why X Factor is such an important team. Carnage's passive for a long time was considered perhaps the best ability in the game because when an enemy drops below 25% health, it fills the speed bar by 30% for Carnage and all symbiote allies. Well, Longshot's passive is considerably better. He's the most important member of the X Factor team, and his passive whenever fills speed bar by 20% whenever anyone on the team crits. That's really important because you can only get a character under 25% health one time unless they heal back up. But you can crit over and over and over. And so Longshot can just have 10 crits in a row and keep generating speed bar for his team. And by the way, he gives so much crit chance to his team that, with just the green ISO, he already has 60% crit chance. You can only imagine how much that's going to go up with blue ISO. So a lot of people have anticipated Multiple Man because let's face it, if Multiple Man has that X Factor tag, geez, he's going to be bonkers, right? He's going to make that team even better, given that Longshot and Shatterstar alone are doing some amazing things in the game. Well, let's look at the kit. So yes, he does have that X Factor tag. All right, well, we have to be on the lookout. Is this character broken? Is he overpowered? That sort of thing, right? Well, one thing I will say is, you should note he's a city hero. That's actually useful because he might be somebody you want to bring into Dark Dimension 4, for example, because he is a mutant, and so if you want to use a mutant mats in city, he's your only option. But one thing I will just say overall is, and also I should note that he's a protector, which means that a lot of people, including myself, often run Yo-Yo with the X Factor team. You won't be able to run Yo-Yo and Multiple Man together. But I will just say, when I look at this kit overall, and we're going to get to it and break it down in a minute, I think the devs tried really hard to make this character very interesting, very fun to play, but not completely broken. Now, did they succeed? That's not clear, and I don't know if we can know until we get into the game. But I will just say that you could tell that they really tried to do some things to not make this obviously insane. So let's look at his passive. I'm going to start there first, all right? So with his passive, it's clear that he's going to be awesome on War Offense. And I will just tell you, I already use X Factor on War Offense. I use them on a team with Ultron, Namor, and then you can vary the fifth character. But lately I've been using Squirrel Girl just to cleanse the slow from Emma Frost. But that team easily punches up on Marauders. And now Multiple Man is going to replace Ultron on that team because he does the two things that Ultron ordinarily does. One thing that Ultron does that's important is by spawning bots, he makes it possible that Sinister is going to clone a bot, or that Mystique is going to target a bot for her mind trick, or that Emma is going to target a bot for her mind control, and so forth, to be the subject of her mind control. And that's exactly what he does here, because on spawn there's going to be two dupes, and you always know that the AI loves targeting characters that have low health, like Greg, and so I would expect that the AI is going to target these dupes sometimes, and that's going to buy time for the X Factor. And that's really important because the X Factor, one of their weaknesses is they take a little bit of time to get going. They're like the symbiotes in that respect. Once you get them going and they're getting all the speed bar, they can be unstoppable. But in the very beginning, if you quickly take out Longshot, for example, then the entire match can be over for X Factor. And so having some additional characters being 7 on 5 at start is going to make them even stronger on War Offense. Obviously, you also have some resistance here. And then now when Multiple Man is attacked, there's two dupes, which should help particularly against AI teams that are going to be doing AoE type attacks. Now, obviously, another important ability here is that dupes heal Multiple Man when they die. And that's really important because, it's going to make him annoying because, of course, when an enemy attacks Multiple Man, it summons a dupe. So you're going to want to, one-shot Multiple Man. Otherwise, if you just keep summoning dupes over time and keeps healing, it can create an issue for you. The problem, though, I will say, is that Multiple man does not have anything that forces you to attack him. So there is an ability, and we'll get to it later, that forces you to attack Dupes, but nothing that forces you to attack him. So you can potentially, if you play it very carefully, if you're a human player, you can kind of ignore multiple man for a while. The issue is, though, of course, you're going to have to shut him down before he puts taunt on his Dupes. Now, one thing I will say, by the way, this healing can really get out of control with healer ISO. And I think one thing we're going to have to test out once this character gets into the game is, do you want to use healer ISO even though he's X Factor? X Factor characters generally always want Raider because when they crit, they give so much speed bar. But this character only has one attack out of his 3 abilities, and that attack is just a single target, one attack ability. So it's possible that healer ISO is actually the right choice for him. We're going to have to check that out. One thing I will say, though, let's take a look at the Dupes here for a second. So the Dupes really have one move, and basically what it does is it steals a positive effect from the enemy, and then it spreads the positive effects to multiple man. So you could imagine against a team like Marauders or Black Order, this could be very devastating. These teams that rely on buffs, Marauders I think is a great example. They're going to slowly have their positive effects stolen by the Dupes, given to multiple man. That could be extremely, extremely powerful, and they're going to land because they're going to get this extra focus. But here is the line that really shows that the developers are concerned about making this team not bonkers. And it's this line here: this attack cannot crit. That is super important because if all the Dupes were critting all the time, this team would be unstoppable because there just would be too many crits. No matter what you did and who you attacked, somebody would be critting. So now the Dupes, if they're not taunted, or if you have a way to just bypassing their taunt, the Dupes really aren't the problem here. The problem, of course, is still going to be Longshot and to a lesser extent Shatterstar. And really what the Dupes are is a way of kind of, being an annoyance, stealing your buffs, distracting you from the main characters, the one that you need to kill, which is Longshot. Okay, and then of course also I will say on spawn apply counter to the multiple man that summoned this dupe. That's also an important point, is whenever he summons dupes, it's going to apply counter to multiple man. And that is an interesting mechanic because it may make you want to have Raider on multiple man because of course he can crit on his counters. Okay, now let's go right to his ultimate, and that's an amazing ability. It fills the board with dupes. And so if you're running, for example, right now we're not going to have a 5th X Factor. There's a lot of speculation about who that is going to be. But if you're running 4 X Factor plus another character, you'll immediately have 6 other dupes that are spawned to fill all the spots. If everybody else dies, he still can fill the board with his dupes. And yes, this is going to be available turn 2. But importantly, because the X Factor takes so many turns, because multiple man and the dupes are going to be getting turn meter from Longshot, which we showed up in the beginning, you could just have the board filled with dupes a lot. Okay, so that I think is a very, very key ability. This is an ability I think you're going to use more than you realize. I bet that for most characters, this might seem that this will be the equivalent of maybe a 4-turn cooldown on most teams. Now, the other key part here, applying offense up for 2 turns and to counter to all X Factor and dupe allies. That is awesome because what this is going to do is just tremendously up the damage on Longshot and Shatterstar, particularly Longshot, who right now is the best damager in the game, damaging more than Black Bolt over time, given all the turns in particular. And, one thing that Ultron did when he was combined with the Dad Bros is he was giving offense up to them. Now this does exactly the same thing with an X Factor character. And this also fills a speed bar, which will get all the dupes going and stealing buffs and so forth. So very powerful ability. Then of course, we have the special here. Now, the special is very interesting. You can use this on turn 1, and you're going to be able to use this very often. Longshot has a 2-turn cooldown ability, and it seems like you're using it just unbelievably, right? You're using it all the time. I think this 3-turn ability is going to be like a 2-turn ability for most on most teams. It's just going to be coming up all the time. So on turn 1, he's going to summon 2 dupes, remove negative effects from the dupes, and apply taunt and death proof to the dupes. Clear all negative effects, but only from himself. That's important. We'll get to that later. And gain immunity for a turn. So I think this is really the key ability. This is what's going to force the enemy not to attack Longshot and Shatterstar, to force them to focus on the dupes. That's the important ability. And really the question is going to be for an opponent is, can they shut down your X Factor team in some way before this ability goes off, or at least before it goes off a second time. So this is really the ability that does all of the protecting for the team. Okay, gives X Factor time to ramp up. As I said, that is their weakness. And when we go to the basic, this is pretty underwhelming, and I think it's deliberately underwhelming by the devs. The X Factor, the two existing X Factor, Longshot and Shatterstar, have all these AoEs, and they just crit all the time and generate an insane amount of speed bar. And I don't know if the devs actually plan for them to be as overpowered as they are. And this is the only attack that Multiple Man has. So the special doesn't attack. The ultimate doesn't attack. And it's just the base, and it gives speed bar to dupes that don't have crit. So the basic just attacks one target. Okay, so there's definitely going to be less critting there, less crit opportunity there, although still with blue ISO and all that, it still could be a lot. You may end up running him Raider anyways between that and the counters. And then, this attack gains 10 damage per dupe ally. That's nice, but this is not going to be a real damager kind of character. Obviously, we're going to have to see the stats. So I think what you really want to know, you really want me to tell you, is how broken is this character? How amazing is this character? And I think it's hard to tell. I think he's a good character. The question is he one of the best characters in the game? Is he meta-defining? And I really can't tell. And here's why. They've really tried hard to make this character not insane, not over the top, not ridiculous the way that, let's say, a Silver Surfer was, or Longshot was, or Doom is. But, one thing that I will say is that the symbiotes got so powerful when they went from 3 members to 5 members. And that's because when Carnage's passive was limited to 3 members, he was giving 30 speed bar to 3 members. Well, now here you're taking X Factor from 2 members potentially to 9, right? If the board is filled with dupes, you're just going to have one character that's not X Factor. So, if you run, let's say, 4 X Factor and Silver Surfer, or 4 X Factor and whoever, Emma, Yo-Yo, whatever you are, not Yo-Yo, but yeah, Emma or somebody like that. So the question is, by giving all that speed bar from Longshot to so many different characters, is that just broken in and of itself, such that you could really have any kind of abilities on Multiple Man, as long as he's got the X Factor tag and is generating more characters with X Factor tag, he's broken? I don't know. The dupes can't crit thing does limit the snowball ability of this to an extent, but, because obviously they're going to be taking turns and not critting. But I think this team could just end up being insane. However, it's going to be a team that is going to do much better against the AI than against human beings, okay? Because humans are going to know that you don't need to attack Multiple Man first. They're going to be able to exploit the dupes potentially with symbiotes or with Axemen to get speed bar. They're going to know to focus Longshot, but the AI isn't, right? The AI, just like they attack Greg or they attack Shocker when Doc Ock summons him, they may just go after the dupes and it may just provide a lot of protection from your team in raids or on more offense or things like that. The other thing I will just say is, the lack of an AoE on him also limits him as well, his ability as well to generate crit. So I do think he's not as OP as he could be. The other thing he doesn't do is he really, he does not fully solve the 2 problems that X Factor has. I mean, the 2 things that X Factor really needs is they need a cleanse, which is why you often run them with Emma, a character like Emma. He only cleanses himself. If Polaris is an ally, she'll be the next character. And, they also, so he doesn't cleanse anyone else other than himself and the dupes. And then the ramp up time is the other issue, as I've mentioned before, that it takes time to get the X Factor going. That's still going to be a weakness. And this is really the only thing that helps there is essentially, once he gets a single turn, he will summon dupes and create some wiggle room here for the X Factor to get going. But, the question is, how fast is he? If he's really slow, if Multiple Man is slow, which is very possible since he's a protector, I think it could just be that he's more of a character you just use against the AI, who frankly is not going to know enough to disable your long shot immediately, and is going to give you time to get going anyways. In which case, this team will eventually spiral and snowball out of control. And so, what does this mean? I think this character is going to be amazing in raids and war offense with the other X Factor. He's going to definitely, I think, be bad in arena defense because the dupes are just going to feed a turn meter to the symbiotes and to a lesser extent the Axemen. I do think he could be awesome on arena offense, but that really just depends on how bonker the team gets with 9 or 10 different X Factor members on the board, all getting that speed bar from Longshot. All right, if you like this video, smash the like button below. Subscribe to this channel. Check out our Discord. The link's below. Check out our Twitch stream. The link is also below. And thanks for all your support.